Yes, welcome back to my channel Pinnacle of English, and in today's class we are going to discuss a very good story from class 9th Moments CBSE English, and the title of the story is The Happy Prince, which is written by Oscar Wilde. Please don't forget to subscribe my channel, click on like button, click on bell button for more notifications and share with your friends so that they can enjoy this story. Let's understand the short autobiography of Oscar Wilde. So the full name of Oscar Wilde is Oscar Fingal O'Flaherty Wilde. Wills Wilde was an Irish poet and even playwright. So after writing in different forms throughout 1880s and early 1890s saw him become one of the most popular playwrights in London. He was born on 16th October 1854, Westland Row, Dublin, Ireland, and died in the year 1900, means 1900, 30th November in Paris, France. His spouse's name was Constance Lloyd. She was born on 1884 and died in 1898. Now here you can say short, or you can say stories, Castelline Ghost, Canterville Ghost, The Selfish Giant, and many other very good stories which are having great interest to read. So to be a reader, we have to read Oscar Wilde's short stories. Now let's see the mind map of this story. Here the main attractive point or main attractive character of this story is the Happy Prince. And after the death of the prince, his statue was fixed on the pedestal of the main four roads of the city. When he was alive, his people were very much precious, very much prosperous during his time. Even his desire, when after his death, his statue was fixed at the pedestal, and it was so high that he could see the entire city, entire kingdom. But after his death, his people became very much sad. Their life became very much pathetic. And suddenly a messenger called Swallow, a migrating bird, came to him, and he asked him to help these needy people of his emperor, his city. And the next point is that there are two most precious things which are after the death of the swallow, and even after the statue which was melted, and only the leaden heart which was not melted. And these two things were sent to the dust. So the messenger of God came to the earth and took these two precious things from the earth. That was the leaden heart of the Happy Prince, and the second was the dead body of the swallow. Even God became happy that he chose the right or the best things of the earth. Now let's understand the introduction of the lesson. This story is about a prince. When the prince was alive, he was very happy. And after his death, a big statue of his was erected on the pedestal. Because prince was also called a prince. And to remember that prince for a long time, the statue is erected. Hence, the Happy Prince, the statue erected on the pedestal. From there, the statue of Prince could see the entire city, and at that time he saw the misery of the people. When he was alive, his people were very prosperous. There was no problem at all. But after his death, he saw the miseries of the people. Even he saw the poor people, the homeless, their hunger and starvation. The prince was sad to see all the miseries and sadness of the people. So, in this chapter, we will study the story of this prince, and we have to understand that how that little swallow helped and respected the command of the happy prince and helped these needy people, helped these sad people, upset people, and those people who are not having enough food to eat. This happy prince helped, and this help was done by the little swallow. Now let's see the summary of this story. Once in a town there lived a prince, and he was called the happy prince because he had seen happiness in his life. Even he had been happy all his life. But after his death, the statue was erected on the tall pedestal in the middle of the town. The statue was covered with gold and had two precious sapphire stones embedded in the eyes. So you can understand. And even a leaden gold, the leaves of the gold that were fixed on the body of or on the statue of the happy prince. A ruby stone had been fitted into the middle of his sword. So from there, he could see all around the place and realized that the people lived in a lot of poverty and misery. So the prince became sad. He wanted to help all those poor people, full of misery people. And this sight saddened the prince and being helpless. And he could weep to see the plight of his people. So the little swallow, it was a great thing that little swallow came there and took a fine place to take rest at the feet of the golden statue. One day, a swallow bird was flying through the city and on its way to Egypt to meet his friends, because his all friends went away early and he was 1 week past to reach to Egypt, because they wanted to survive their life, and that's why they were migrating, because winter was extremely cold over there. So on the way, it took shelter for the night at the feet of the statue of the happy prince. So when he was thinking that this golden band is really and the most appropriate for the swallow to take rest. And as the swallow started sleeping over there, small drops fell on him, and the swallow was thinking that definitely there is the stars are there in the sky, the clouds are very clear, but then also there is rainfall, it is impossible. Then again one more drop fell on him and realized that something is there, and that bird saw that the prince was weeping. The helpless prince requested the bird to help it by becoming its messenger. So the little swallow became the messenger as per the order, as per the command of the happy prince. So after initial refusal, the swallow denied strictly initially that I want to go to Egypt, as my friends, my other birds also left this place and went to Egypt, and I am little bit back. I am late to reach there. But the happy prince requested that swallow to help these needy people. The bird even agreed to took the ruby stone from the sword hilt and delivered it to a poor seamstress. She was preparing a beautiful gown for the queen, and it was a time of ceremony. She even did not have money to fix flowers on the gown. Even her son was there and he was shivering with fever. She was not having money to give even a milk to that boy, or not having money to give proper treatment to her son. Right? So that little bird, swallow bird, took that ruby from the sword hilt and gave it to that seamstress where she was sleeping, taking rest over there. So next morning, as he went to bid goodbye, the swallow said, "Goodbye, I am going to leave for Egypt." The statue convinced him to stay back for one more night, one more day. And that day, the bird was asked to remove the sapphire stone from one of the statue's eyes. And he said that, "Please remove one sapphire from one of my eyes and deliver it to a young playwright." Here, the playwright had to complete his play as early as possible because of his director said that you have to complete this playwright. He was not having money to eat food and shaking with vibration in his body because of extreme cold weather was there. And he took rest over there. And the bird reached with that sapphire and kept on the playwright's table. So that was the another help, second help. Now also on the third day, the bird had to pull out the second sapphire stone for a poor match girl. So after helping this playwright, the happy prince also requested to stay for one more day, because the happy prince wanted to help the needy people. And he said the next night, it was evening time, and the prince said that you just remove the second sapphire from my second eye. The swallow denied. If I remove this sapphire from one of your eyes, then you will be blind. You cannot see. I won't do it. But the prince said that you just order my command. So the swallow removed that second sapphire from the prince's eyes and gave it to that poor match girl, because the girl was selling matchboxes in the street, and by mistake all the matchboxes fell into gutter. She was crying. She was thinking that my father will beat me if I don't reach home with money. So that swallow went to that matchbox girl and handed over that sapphire to that girl. The girl became happy. By this time, the weather had become cold and the bird had developed an attachment with the statue. They were having great attachment, great intimacy between them, between the statue, happy prince, and the little swallow. Now, the happy prince was blind. He could not see the city, and that's why the little swallow decided that I will be there with you. I will help you out to see the entire city and help the needy people. The bird did not want to leave the statue which had now become blind. The happy prince asked the bird to go round the city and inform the condition of the people living there. So the bird made a great round, big round, and it was night time, and he could see that there were two children sleeping and taking rest under the bridge, shivering with cold wind, and extreme cold was there outside, and they both were embracing and they wanted to save their life from this extreme cold. But the watchman came there and removed or told them to go away from this place. Even the swallow bird became unhappy because there were some children who did not have enough food to eat. So the little swallow informed the happy prince that we should help these poor children who did not have enough food to eat. So, as the poor happy prince did not have any more precious stones, he ordered the bird to remove the gold foils from his body and distribute among the living who needed money for survival. So that is important. Gradually, the statue of Happy Prince lost its covering of gold and became full of grey. On the other hand, the poor became joyous and they got bread to eat. The poor people, after getting these golden foils, golden leaves, they became happy. They enjoyed a lot and they got their bread to eat. So, we have to help others in some or the other way. No doubt we are having money, but as much as we can, we have to help others. So that is our humanity. That is our kindness. We have to kind with others. We have to be kind. The swallow bird was now unable to withstand the cold weather and realized that it was approaching. The swallow bird could not withstand the extreme cold. He could not struggle even. And then the bird realized that death is very close to him. It informed the statue that it had to leave, and the statue, who loved the bird, asked it to kiss him. And the bird died and fell at the statue's feet. A strange sound came out of the statue, the sound of the breaking of his heart. You understand, if somebody is no more in the family, it happens that our heart is also broken. We ask, we weep, and we cry. So, obviously, it is there. Although the statue's heart was made of lead and it broke as it was overwhelmed with affection towards the bird. When the statue was melted, the mayor of the city and his followers, his colleagues, they came to visit the city and saw that the statue was no more attractive because there was no value, no sapphire, no ruby, nothing was there. The entire statue of Happy Prince was turned into grey color. And that's why he ordered that this, and also even he said that such kind of dead body of the bird is not good on the pedestal. And that's why he ordered his followers that this statue should be discarded. It should be melted. Right? So when the statue was melted in the furnace, the heart did not melt and was thrown in the garbage. It landed near the swallow's body. The God's angels, when the God ordered his angel to find out the two precious things from the earth. So the messenger came to the earth and find out the two most precious things. And these were both the dead swallow and the broken heart of the prince. They were the most precious things on this land. Now let's understand important question answers for examination. Question is, why do the courtiers call the prince the happy prince? Is he really happy? What does he see all around him? The courtiers called the happy prince because he was always happy. When he was alive, he did not know what tears were for. He lived in a palace where sorrow was not allowed to enter. However, when he died and was made into a statue, he was not happy. And tears flowed down his eyes on seeing the statue of his city. He could see all the miseries and ugliness of the city around him. Now let's see question number 2. Why does the happy prince send a ruby for the seamstress? What does the swallow do in the seamstress house? The happy prince sent a ruby for a seamstress, and she was extremely poor and could not feed her child who was suffering from fever. The swallow, on being persuaded by the prince, went to the seamstress house. She had fallen asleep, so the swallow kept the ruby on the table where the woman worked. He then flew round the bed, fanning a boy's forehead with his wings. This made the boy feel relaxed and he went to sleep. Question number 3. For whom does the prince send the sapphires and why? The happy prince sent the sapphires for 2 people, the young writer across the city and the match girl. The young writer was trying to finish a play for the director of the theater. However, he was too cold to write anymore. There was no fire in the grate, and hunger he made him faint. He sent the sapphire to the young playwright so that he could sell it to the jeweler, buy firewood, and finish his play. On seeing the sapphire, the young man felt appreciated and believed that he could finish his play. The happy prince then saw a little match girl who was standing in the square just below him. She had let her matches fall in the gutter, because of which they were all spoiled. They were of no use. So the prince knew that her father would beat her if she did not bring home some money. When the swallow slipped the jewel into the palm of the little girl's hand, she ran home happy and even laughing. She became happy with that. Now question number 4. What does the swallow see when it flies over the city? When the swallow flew over the city, it saw the stark contrast of plenty and poverty. It was rich man making merrily obvious to the plight of the poor down the lane. It saw neither of the condition of the poor when they are denied even a sound sleep by police patrolling the street. They were denied to sleep under the bridge. Question number 5. Why did the swallow not leave the prince and go to Egypt? Since the prince had given away to the 2 precious sapphires of his eyes, he had become blind, and therefore the swallow decided to stay with the prince always. It can be inferred that the swallow was so touched by the prince's kindness that he decided to stay back rather than flying to Egypt to be with his friends. And what this suggests is that kind-hearted people always attract friends who will stay with them forever. Now question number 6. What are the precious things mentioned in the story? Why are they precious? Answer of this question is, the precious things mentioned in the story are the leaden heart of the happy prince and the dead bird of the swallow. They are precious because both the happy prince and the swallow were very kind, generous, and selfless. The prince could not bear to see the ugliness, misery, and the suffering of his city, and so gave away all his precious stones and gold to make his people happy. So we have to sacrifice our life for others. Similarly, the swallow sacrificed his trip to Egypt and acted as the prince's messenger, carrying the precious stones and gold to the needy, spreading happiness around. When the prince was blind, he still loved him so much that he never left him, even though it kept getting colder and colder with winter approaching. And finally, when he could no longer bear the cold, he died at the feet of the statue, and the statue loved him so much that its leaden heart broke into two. That is why when God asked one of the angels to bring him the two precious things in the garden, the angel took the leaden heart and the dead body of the little swallow. And God said that in his garden of paradise, the little bird shall sing forever more, and in the city of gold, the happy prince shall praise the God. So here we are ending our story of the Happy Prince written by Oscar Wilde. We have understood and covered the mind map explanation and even NCERT questions and answers. I hope you will watch this video. Click on like button, subscribe, share, and even bell button for more notifications. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.